The loudest person in the room always gets the attention. They dominate conversations, crack the jokes, steer the energy, and everyone turns when they speak. But psychologists will tell you something most people never notice. The quietest person in the room is almost always the one you should watch closest, because silence isn't empty, it's strategic, and science shows it's one of the most powerful traits a human being can have. Let's break down exactly what psychology says about the people who say the least, somehow control the most.
Point 1. Hyperobservation.
Number 1. They notice absolutely everything you ignore. Quiet people aren't disengaged, they're hyper-engaged. While everyone else is performing, the quiet one is studying. They're reading micro-expressions that last half a second. They catch the eye roll someone tried to hide. They hear the tiny crack in your voice when you lie. They notice who looks at who when certain names are mentioned. Psychologists call this high social attentiveness. Because they're not busy talking, their brain has zero distractions. It turns the room into a live psychology experiment, and they're the only ones taking notes.
Knowledge like that? That's quiet power. Point 2. They think before they react.
Number 2. They process before they respond, and that makes them impossible to read. Most of us react within 0.2 seconds of hearing something emotional.
Quiet people don't. They pause. They breathe.
They run the sentence through 3 silent filters.
What was really meant? What's the motive?
How do I want this to land? Studies from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology show that people who pause before speaking are perceived as more intelligent, more competent, and significantly harder to manipulate. You can scream, threaten, flirt, or charm. They still won't react until they decide it's time. That level of self-control terrifies people who survive on impulse. Point 3. Their silence forces you to reveal yourself. Number 3. Their silence is a mirror, and most people can't stand their own reflection. Human beings hate awkward silence. Research from the University of Groningen found that after just 4 seconds of silence in conversation, discomfort spikes and people start oversharing. They fill the void with secrets, opinions, insecurities, flexes, anything to feel in control again. The quiet person just sits there,
calm, unbothered, listening. They don't interrupt.
They don't rescue you. And in that vacuum, you hand them your entire playbook without them ever asking a question. Sun Tzu said, "Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night." Quiet people live that without trying.
Point 4. They don't need validation.
Number 4. They do not require external approval to feel worthy, and that makes them untouchable. Loud dominance is almost always fueled by insecurity. Psychologists call it compensatory behavior. The more someone needs to be seen, the more fragile their ego actually is. Quiet people have already done the inner work. Their self-worth isn't tied to how many heads turn when they walk in. They're not performing confidence, they possess it. And someone who doesn't need the room's applause can never be controlled by the room's judgment.
That's real freedom.
Point 5. When they speak, everyone shuts up. Number 5. Their words carry nuclear weight. Because they speak 80% less than the average person, every syllable is rare. And rarity creates value. One calm, well-timed sentence from a quiet person can completely redirect an entire conversation, sometimes an entire room. There's actual neuroscience behind this. When someone who rarely speaks finally opens their mouth, your brain releases more dopamine and norepinephrine.
You lean in.
Your pupils dilate. You hang on every word. It's the same neurological response we have to surprise or danger.
Their voice becomes an event. And events shift power.
Point 6. Bonus deepener: they master energy, not noise. Number 6. And this one separates them from everyone else. They understand that real power isn't about volume. It's about energy. Loud people burn energy. Quiet people conserve it, redirect it, and release it only when it counts. Watch any high-stakes environment, a boardroom negotiation, a street confrontation, a family argument. The person who stays calm while everyone else escalates almost always wins. Not because they shouted loudest, but because they never lost control while everyone else did. Point 7. They scare people without trying. Number 7. This one's dark but true. Their silence itself becomes a weapon. People project onto quietness. He's judging me. She knows something I don't.
He's plotting.
The less they say, the bigger they become in other people's heads. Psychologists call this the still waters effect. Still waters run deep, and most people are terrified of depths they can't see the bottom of. So let's stop glorifying noise and start respecting silence. The loudest person in the room wants your attention. The quietest person in the room already has your respect, whether you admit it or not.
They're not shy. They're not weak.
They're not boring. They're calculating. They're observing. They're choosing when, and if, they'll ever let you in. And if you're someone who's always been the quiet one, stop letting the world convince you that's a flaw. Your silence isn't absence. It's presence at its most refined. You don't need to scream to be heard. You just need to make sure that when you finally speak, the entire room was already waiting. Quiet isn't weak. Quiet is power wearing a disguise most people are too loud to notice. If this hit the part of you that's always felt misunderstood for being quiet, do one thing for me. Hit that subscribe button right now. Because every week I drop calm, psychology-backed truths for the people who feel everything but say very little. You're not alone, and you never were. See you in the next one.